one of my key areas of research looks at water and water security and First Nations water security. And in particular, I'm working on a research grant, water collaboration between First Nations and municipalities with Dr. Chris Alcantara at the University of Western Ontario and Dr. Brady Deaton at the University of Guelph in Food, Agriculture, Resource Economics. So we're looking at some of the issues around First Nations water insecurity as it relates to safe drinking water. So many of you may know there's a water crisis in First Nations across Canada with the lack of access to safe drinking water. And the government approach right now has been to look mainly at infrastructure. And some of my research, my doctoral research, and some of my current research looks at some of those solutions to water security, whether they be policy-wise at a large watershed scale to protect source water, or what they look like from my research with Dr. Deaton and Alcantara, looking at water collaboration, looking at the feasibility of safe drinking water through municipal service agreements with local municipalities. So here I'm actually at Kettle and Stony Point First Nation at the Kettle Point Reserve. This is where I actually do my PhD research in First Nations water security and collaborative governance. And behind me here is Lake Huron, and it's an area of the source water for the Kettle Point First Nation. And it's one part of, when we start thinking of water security, we think of from source to tap, the whole system. And that comes from my geography background too, where I bring some of that element in terms of understanding the natural systems as well as the social systems. So looking within a social ecological framework, but focusing now on policy, governance, management, of how do we create those institutions, those systems for how we manage human behavior and the way we relate to resources in a way that increases sustainability and secures water for First Nations. And then when we talk about First Nations, we have to think of water in a different context, about the understanding of water as life, the Indigenous philosophies and perspectives on water. So that's critically important as well, and it needs to be a component of research when we work with First Nations communities. So I'll add some photos on here and some little snippets of Kettle Point. I'm currently working with 3 First Nations in southwestern Ontario, Chippewa of the Thames, Munsee, Delaware, and the Oneida First Nation. And these 3 First Nations are all adjacent to one another, and they're also 3 distinct groups of nations. So in a context, that's international nations of having the 3 of them. And that they're located in the same area in southwestern Ontario. I just happen to be down at Kettle Point. As I mentioned in my other video, I camped down here and thought I'd just share a little bit of Kettle Point. It's very typical of some of the First Nations in southern Ontario. So I'll add some video, but feel free to reach out if you want to learn more of it. And I'll add some links too to our project website, so you'll get a sense of what this research is all about. Thanks.